Welcome, my friends, this is Maniacal Incorporated, returning to the Maroon Palace for more meetings. During the week, somebody on Twitch asked me, they said that they watched the first episode in the series, and at the end of it they said, well, there's an hour of my life I'm not going to get back. And they were wondering if it's just all meetings, if that's all this game is. Yes, and it's fantastic. We have a chunk of news. I'm not too sure. We might have gone through this at the end of the last episode. Gazom engineer salaries under scrutiny. So we had a meeting with a member of the Bildersburg group, of the group, who was trying to bribe us, basically, to give their company the contract for the monorail that we're building. President Rain talks to protesters. That's right, we went on a tour. President Anton Rain visited towns around Greater Hallsword and Gruni regions, which were heavily affected by the protests and riots. This sends a powerful message to Swordish citizens that the government is walking among them and listening to their problems. Walking and listening, that's exactly what we're doing. The Lewis has broken down, I think. Reform demands gain popularity. Well, good, because we intend instituting reform, but we were told that there wasn't actually much support for it. And the Radical Workers' Party Solidarity March, so presumably in the aftermath of Bernard Circas's death, we will again foil this war plot that was set up by the Solist ideology, he said, in reference to the series of conflict and bloodshed during Tarquain Soll's term as president. And Bludish citizens targeted. Okay. We have a good chunk of stuff, I think, to get through. We have reports coming from over there, and the Duchy of Pales. We'll take a look at this quickly. It's issuing a warning over Rizian actions. Well, that doesn't concern us. Yet. We have the economic reform plan. Down here we had a report. Situation report. Ministry of Defense reports that the situation along the border is getting tense. Rumberg's Southern Army was sighted training close to the borders and did not respond after we told them to go away. The Chief of the Armed Forces, General Kruger, reports to have increased patrolling duties along the northern border to signal readiness. Police are working with nationalists. That's not good. We've detained the policeman on charges of corruption. So we had a meeting of basically our Chief of Staff and the Minister for Defence. Because Rumberg are being divils, so we need to start developing something vaguely reminiscent of a foreign policy. We might as well start in Hallsword with the Economic Relief Plan, an act to ease the economic hardship felt in the country. With the assistance of the National Business Council and the Central Bank, Simon Hall put forward a countrywide relief plan to mitigate the economic hardships that were being felt. We can either provide stimulus checks for people to buy Bitcoin, or bail out businesses under serious financial strain, or decide not to approve the plan. And it's going to be -2 to the government budget. It would make sense economically to assist. I think to assist the businesses. I think with the type of run that we're doing, it's probably more likely that we would provide stimulus checks for people in need. No doubt they will not spend it foolishly on crypto. They will either save it or they will buy necessities. Surely. That's what happens when people get stimulus checks. So we have some updates. We'll see in a minute what we've done. Conriath, I believe, is going to be a meeting with whatever his name is, Conriath Concordia. Unemployment and checks. The administration has fallen for populism and the idea that giving people money will solve the problems of the economy overall. Yes, we have. The administration needs to reevaluate their way out of the recession with realistic methods. And help comes at last, so the economists are not happy. Radical delighted. We've the finalization of the L1 contract. You know what? We'll go and we'll have our meeting with Marcel Koronti. Conrad Koronti, I think, was his father. Our motorcade headed to the meeting location set by Marcel Koronti. I had only my most confidential and trustworthy team members with me. So Marcel, of course, is the head of the HOS conglomerate, which he succeeded his father to, if I am correct, the Heart of Sordland. So after his father's death in 54, he was elected as the next chairman. His wealth is estimated to be around a couple of billion SR, according to The Economist. He is one of the 3 richest swords alive today, and who would doubt that newspaper when it puts out its rich list? I don't think we're going to be getting onto the rich list. After a few hours of driving along the river Eskel, we took a turn before entering Conriath. The darkness started setting in as we drove up the hill. Where are we, Serge? We are nearing the HOS Country Club, Mr. President, says Serge, our driver. We'll be there shortly. We arrived, and the big iron gates of the country club opened. It was huge and outright extravagant. The main building, inspired by lesbian architecture, was illuminated from all sides. It was rather chilly. I was approached by Peter Vectron and Lucien Gallade, so they came separately. I hope the journey was comfortable. Shut up, Peter. The location is very remote indeed. Anything to keep me away from home. It wasn't bad. I'm looking forward to this meeting, or I can't think of comfort when our country is descending into chaos. Exactly. I sat on the most uncomfortable part of the car possible. I sat on the handbrake. When you put it like that, enter the building. We enter the main building. After opening the marble-engraved wooden door, we were greeted by 2 tall women. The receptionist led us to the meeting room upstairs. Marcel was standing by the window, looking outside at the beautiful complex. He turned around to have a quick look at us both. He was a strikingly handsome man with well-groomed hair. He walked towards me, with his hand reached out for a handshake. Slap his hand, fantasize about cutting his hand off, reach out for a handshake. I shook his hand. He had a firm grip of my hand. It is such a pleasure to meet you in person, Mr. Koronti. I appreciate your efforts to reach out and establish a mutually beneficial friendship. Gallade, you bootlicker. Peter, you bootlicker. Thanks for hosting us. I admired your father very much. May he rest in peace. Welcome. Your kind words have touched me, Mr. Vice President. He was indeed a great man. Please accept our condolences, yeah. He would have been very happy to hear this from you, Mr. President. Why would your father have been happy to hear me offering him my condolences? I might have to put this up somewhere. I got a scam email a couple of days ago, and it was, Mr. John White has informed me that you have died, but I don't believe him. Please respond to this email to stop the transfer of $10 million to his account. If the reports of your death are true, then please accept my condolences. It was something like that. If you are dead, then I'm sorry. I wish to offer you my condolences. But yeah, his father would have been delighted for us to offer our condolences on his death. It's time to look forward. Let's talk about our bright future. Great band. Pity they didn't make more music. Yes. Yeah. Believe it or not, I have been a secret admirer of your political success. I don't believe you. I find your quick rise to power was shockingly well executed. I would not be standing here if I was bad at what I do. Thank you. Marcel gently pointed at the seats. We sat down around a gigantic table. Before speaking, He knocked on wood. The past months have been tumultuous, to say the least. I am glad you and your family were unharmed at the shooting. The whole incident must have been a shock for the kids. They aren't used to what we lived through back in the late 20s. I still remember when my father took us out of the country when it became too dangerous in Conriath. They were startled, but the important thing is they are safe and sound. Of course, that is all that matters. No family should suffer from tragedy ever again. We've had enough of that. Well, I'm known to be a straightforward person, really. Really. So let me get to the point, without wasting your valuable time. It was during the Alfonso campaign when I was struck by what you managed to do within the party. Marcel's eyes travelled towards one of the paintings on his wall. Let me be straightforward. Sit down and get to the damn point. He's looking at a painting. Do we want to look at the painting? We'll look at Marcel. Marcel pointed his finger at me. You said we will transform this nation, Mr. Rain. My conglomerate has a way of doing things, and I don't want them to change. So, I want to cooperate with you. Please, explain further. Cooperate? Cooperate. You might have the people's support now, Mr. President, but what happens when you make a mistake? Everybody makes mistakes. What is that supposed to mean? Says Peter Vectron. Probably not looking at the painting, but looking at what I imagine is a collection of alcohol bottles in the background. Let's hear his point, Mr. Vice President. Being a president in this country means having many enemies that would resort to anything to bring you down. Let's say these enemies caused a scandal or leaked sensitive information from the administration. These would be destructive once they were released. If they were released. Are you threatening me? Absolutely not. I'm merely offering a helping hand. A helping hand with a dagger in it. It doesn't sound like help. I harbour no ill will. It is up to you whether to accept my support or not. Let me at least explain further. Make your case. I want two things, Mr. President. Number one is a guarantee from you that the Rain administration won't meddle in HOS affairs, no matter what happens. Number two is a simple gentleman's favour. For the future. Let me prove my services to you first, and I'm sure you won't disapprove when the time comes. I don't like the first one. I don't like the sound of the first one. So it's a conglomerate. It has too much influence. They're involved in nearly all industries, but only have a monopoly in the media industry through their ownership of the Sordland Today and the Swordish Broadcasting Corporation. That I'm not too pushed about. How do I know I can trust you? My circle advised against this. They don't even know we are meeting, Mr. President. We're both putting ourselves at risk here, but I'm willing to trust you. The question is, are you willing to trust me trusting you and accept this offer that I'm offering to accept for you? What do you think, Lucien? I don't think we'll ask Peter. Lucien leaned over and whispered, I think it's a good deal. He is right. We will need the media support. With his newspapers and channels on our side, we can dodge a lot of bullets. The one thing that bothers me, though, is his favour request. We do not know what he'll ask for, and it could be something that endangers our administration. Marcel interrupted us. So, do we have a deal? I think we're going to have to accept. We're going to need media support. Something that endangers the administration. We have a deal. Happy to hear that. You can contact me personally through this number. Now get out. As soon as you know that a story against you will break, please call me, and we will take care of it. I hope you will uphold your end of the bargain as well. will shake his hand. I should have said as long as you do. Marcel put his second hand on mine. We will meet again. Goodbye. And we have an achievement, an offer you cannot refuse. Make a backroom deal. Uh-oh. We will return to Hullsword. I'm sure that one of the richest men in the country won't want anything untoward from me. What would an Irish-themed playthrough be without being heavily in the pocket of the media, and without the media being heavily in the pocket of the government? It wouldn't be right. It wouldn't be right to have it any other way. If we look at our law situation, has something new happened? Media bias. The media in Sordland is facing a significant challenge due to the organised interference from both the state and private organisations. This interference has been aimed at controlling the narrative and shaping public opinion in favour of specific agendas. You say that like it's a bad thing. And we have stimulus checks distributed, so everyone loves their stimulus checks. We have all the finalisation of that. We have a report. Cesaro Kibbener demands emergency to be called. The leader of the National Front Party, Cesaro Kibbener, oh, there's a man who'd lead a National Front Party, has demanded an emergency be called to address the increasing political violence in the country that he predominantly caused. He stated that without a declaration of emergency, Sordland would be destabilised and the integrity of the country would be damaged even further than he has managed to achieve so far. The finalisation of the L1 railway contract. City Hall. We arrive in Enrica by train. The train is driven by Serge. After being greeted by crowds of cheering citizens and the local government officials, we headed to the City Hall. We were here for a significant meeting about the L1 project. Several construction companies sent their representatives to the City Hall. Gus was the first to arrive. He greeted me with a heartwarming smile. Hello, Mr. President. Good to see you again. Appreciate you taking up my offer on the stock investment. Armadine is a very promising corporation, and if everything goes well, you will make solid returns. Gus, as long as they're not too heavily in the pocket of AI, we're fine. If they're... Do they have RAM? Gus, do they have RAM? Thanks for arranging the opportunity. I'll treat you to a 30-year-old Earl Maroon if they make solid profits. If being the keyword. I might lose all my money I put in. I just wanted to try my chances. We'll get him a bottle of whiskey. We'll get him a bottle of whiskey if we make money. I'm looking forward to that. Earl Maroon already. Simone Hall joined us. After settling down, we moved on to discuss the details of the L1 railway project. I came by train yesterday and it was a little uncomfortable. Besides, starting our economic recovery, this project will make the journey here more pleasant, Mr. President. That's the most important thing. That's a given, but we'll have to... we'll also see improvements in everything from logistics to growth. You made the right choice for sure. I trust your economic plans, Simone. Yeah, sure. I'm glad to hear that. We should be able to slow down the recession if we finish the project successfully. Gus says that I'm sure we will. According to your documents, many citizens will be employed because of business expansions. What will it take to stop the recession? Yeah, what will it take to stop the recession? This is just the beginning. We will need to follow this project up with several other economic investments. Simone, I don't have that kind of money. Which is dependent on our government's budget, right? You see, Gus is thinking the same as me. Simone reached through the documents he was holding and found the one he was looking for. I have the overview of the companies here. Simone handed the files over to me. Look at the files. I looked at the files. 3 corporations were listed. The Swordish State Corporation, Underhall Construction, and Taurus Holdings. So, Taurus were founded in 46 by Geralt Fayes, a new and entrepreneurial private company that uses cutting-edge construction technology from Arcasia to reduce construction costs and prices. Ooh. So we know Underhall, they are somehow connected with the Walter Tusk company, sold half of its shares to Walter Tusk of the Lotharberg Group, and the Swedish State Corporation I have not heard of before. Founded in 1891, it's the main government corporation that is tasked with running public construction contracts. One of the big four, the four largest companies in Sordland. In recent years, the efficiency of the corporation seems to have dropped. Yeah, I was expecting as much. I reviewed the listed corporations. I also wrote down some notes and ideas. Which corporation should we talk about? The Swedish State Corporation. The respected Swedish State Corporation, also known as the SSC, was founded in 1891. It is the main state corporation tasked with running the day-to-day construction services of our country. The SSC is the primary reason why our current infrastructure is outdated and we need more adaptive constructive companies. Simone says that this would fulfill our initial election promise of using a state-dominant planned economy to improve the bleak recession situation. They have experience, knowledge, and manpower for a project of this size. I'm not sure about their efficiency, though. There is also the fact that the construction times are long, which is mostly due to their outdated methods. The experience they bring to the table is beneficial. The lack of dynamic attitude is disappointing. You have disappointed me for the last time, SSC. I have no great admiration for the SSC, but their track record clearly shows completed contracts with thousands of employees who have experience. According to the preliminary calculations of the SSC, they would need more resources to finish the project of this size. I like the SSC, but want to hear about the others. Underhall, we'll listen to them, but yeah. The real estate and construction giant was founded in 25 and expanded during the economic boom of the 30s. Picking this corporation would go against our planned economic policy. The CEO is Chris Schaar, the mayor of Conrath. He sold half of his shares a few years ago, but seemed very eager about the L1 bid. I had the chance to work with Underhall Construction in Hull Sword. They took several contracts for the central station renovation and excelled at it. What are your thoughts, Simone? I think that they have been doing relatively well in the private sector, where they are dominating the construction industry with successful projects. Nonetheless, they subjected their workers to conditions below our working standards during the Hull Sword Central Station contract, which is troubling. We need to be able to trust the corporation. That is this is a base requirement of the contract. Gus says that he thinks their capabilities are very suitable for the L1 railway project. Gus, how much money did they give you? Gus? Underhall has specifically mentioned their solid track record and highlighted that they do anticipate to go over budget, but that they will finish on time. So, I think it's -1 if we go with the SSC. And it's -2 if we go with Underhall. Taurus, I'm imagining, what are we thinking about Taurus? I think Taurus are going to, they have the innovative methods, but I bet they don't have the experience or the manpower for a job of this size and will probably require more money. Founded in 46 and is owned by the entrepreneur Geralt Fayes. It is a new holding company whose subsidiaries use cutting-edge technology from Arcasia to reduce construction costs and prices. They are known to provide for their workers who are part of the Labour Union of Sordland. They are a very interesting corporation, especially because of their innovative construction methods, but I don't think they're suitable for large projects like this. Why should we pick Taurus? I should have said, why shouldn't we? They've completed fewer projects than the other companies. However, they are slightly faster and cheaper. It won several awards internationally for being one of the fastest growing and advanced companies. The innovative aspect is refreshing, especially if they can deliver. That's a big if, Mr. President. We need to play it safer with companies like Underhall. They've always delivered for the government on time. The project manager from Towers Holding mentioned that they would be able to finish the project with the allocated funding. They are the only company who found the budget sufficient, making them a cheaper alternative. Towers is definitely worth considering. What's the budget? Is that it? Or are you saying, oh, we wouldn't have to give them any more money? It's time to make a decision. Right, so an extra 1 to the government, if we pick the government. An extra 2 to Underhall. I want to pick Taurus. My only fear is that they will go rampantly over budget if we pick them. I'm imagining we're going to go rampantly over time if we pick the SSC. But it does feel like this is the only way that we can actually stay true to our planned economy methods. Is there no other ways of sticking by the planned economy? Look, we've committed to a planned economy. We will commit to a planned economy. I have settled on the government. Good that we are staying consistent on our economic strategies. See, there you go. The papers would have ate me alive if I'd gone with Taurus. Simone signed a certain section of the dossier and fixed his glasses. Very well, Mr. President. The contract will be awarded to us. No hard feelings, Mr. President. At the end of the day, the success of the project is what matters. The company will be notified today and construction will begin... maybe they'll take a look at it next week. We'll see from there. That's great news. Good luck to us. My expectations are that the grand opening ceremony will be late next year. It will be a pleasure to celebrate together. For now, I'll return to my duties and visit some foreign partners in Erysia. See you soon, Mr. President. Thank you. This concludes the meeting. The meeting ended. We spend the day in Anrica, and it's very refreshing to attend cultural dances and hear the traditional Sordish music of the region. So we are told that our government budget has decreased. If we look at economic stability, let's not look at economic stability. Hull Sword has the L1, the construction is underway, so our only actual major initiative at the moment is in Dyer. Oh, that's probably the funeral. Construction begins for the high-speed railway. So the SSC has been awarded a 2-year contract for an extensive infrastructure project as part of the Children's Hospital, or the L1 high-speed railway project in Sordland. SSC said it could build the line in faster than the deadline and at a much lower cost, according to a letter seen by The Economist. But opposition leader Richter has warned letting SSC build L1 would be extremely questionable. Yeah. A risky railway project. The government has announced a new mega infrastructure project to help alleviate the symptoms of the recession. When the Minister of Economy announced the launch of one of the most contested construction projects in Sordland, a high-speed railway between Lackavin and Hull Sword, he said, "This line crossing the most populated areas of Sordland will ease traffic congestion, boost trade, and give me a more comfortable journey," I think is one of the things that he wanted. Plans for a wider and faster railway network between the two most economically developed cities have circulated since the early 1940s and was promised by President Alfonso before the 49 elections. The funeral of Bernard Circasse. Oh, we will of course attend. He was not only a communist poet, but also an elected MP that had a voice. A state funeral has been organised to honour him. The question is whether the President and the administration will attend the funeral or not. Of course we will attend, 100%. St. Dast's Nearest Cemetery. Dark clouds were looming over Dire. They looked daunting as our convoy started approaching the century-old cemetery. It looked as if it were going to rain, certainly fitting weather for a funeral. As expected, Bernard Circass's passing maintained its media traction, and all of Sordland was paying attention to the ceremony, especially to what I would say in my speech today. Serge tells us we've arrived. Raindrops were running down the car window when Serge opened my door and held an umbrella over my head. As soon as I got out, flashes from the cameras blinded me. See, on the one hand, you have to kind of accept the function of office, which is to have people walking around holding your umbrella. We will make deals with the richest people in Sordland, but then we will appeal to the public by showing humility by carrying an umbrella. It's okay, Serge, I will hold my own umbrella. I'm a man of the people. As you wish, sir. He handed me the umbrella and started waiting next to the car with his own. Peter and Carl exited from their own cars in the convoy. They made their way over to me. Anton! Mr. President? Yeah, you see, Peter, you should show me respect like that. Carl, the chief of police, says that he wanted to inform us that the perimeter is clear and secured completely. There is no one getting in or out without our knowledge, just like the inauguration ball. Yeah, Carl? Good work. Thank you, Carl. Carl bowed his head with respect. Good. If anything happens to Anton, you will have to answer to the First Lady. And trust me, Carl, you don't want that. Oh, Peter. Peter let out a laugh, which drew some attention from bereaved attendees. A good man, Peter. Peter, you're being inconsiderate. I don't think any of us want that. You're the only one who can make me laugh at a funeral. That's a lie. Yeah, gesture to him to keep his voice low. You're right, sorry. It started to rain. Several unintelligible voices were heard from Carl's radio. He stepped out to reply and returned shortly. We have a small problem, sir. A few, 5 to be exact, Red Youth members are here to attend the funeral. They apparently said they wish to pay their respects to their fallen comrade. Should we let them in? Do you think they pose a security threat? Yeah, let them in, but put a few guards on them. As you command. Let's head over. They are about to start. We walked towards the crowd, circled around the grave. Everyone in attendance was wearing black in mourning. The rain started pouring heavily. Bernard's widow and daughter were in the front row, staring at the coffin with a mixture of disbelief, confusion, and above all, a cold, unforgiving sadness. Both of their eyes were very red and swollen from weeping. Before taking my place to observe the ceremony, I gave my condolences to Bernard's wife and his daughter, who looked at me. She reminded me of Dina. When the religious ceremony was done, I was invited by the priest to deliver my speech. I took the podium. I felt like I had a lump in my throat. I couldn't get the daughter's eyes out of my head. Today, we are mourning Bernard Circass, a father, a husband, and a loyal servant of this country. Towards the back of the crowd, I spotted the members of the Red Youth, wearing red shirts and black bands of mourning on their arms. They seemed ruly and were respectfully bowing their heads. There was complete silence, except for the sound of raindrops. So we have, this is a great loss for us all. I disagreed with Bernard almost entirely, which wouldn't be true, regardless of his ideology. He was a true comrade, and he fought for what he believed in, his ideal vision of Sordland in every step of his life. We must learn from him. We will make sure that unfortunate events such as this will never happen again. He had a dream of a unified Sordland. In these next months, we need to fulfill his dream and band together. I interpret this as an attack against me personally. We must unify and band together. Let us all mourn the passing of Bernard Circass and remember him well. Hatred begets hatred. There is only one way to overcome this vicious cycle. We must unite against the evil of this world. I would now like to recite one of the poems he left us. Absolutely, sure. And we've gotten a collectible. We've gotten Sir Cass's poem book. Our only strength is the will to survive, knowing that we will perish, knowing nothing more absolute. We'd rise towards the sun. Those who died, died fighting. He has a very wide corpus of work. Kind of moderate work, extremist work. Very handy. They did not let us sing our songs. They are afraid of the dawn. They are afraid of hope, but our songs will be sung. Our only strength is the will to survive. I like the last one. A moment's silence, please. I'm just loving my moment in the sun. During the silence, all that was heard were the ravens. Some attendees started clapping, some crying. The coffin was lowered into the grave by the gravekeepers. After a couple of minutes, Bernard Sir Cass was with the soil no more. Step down from the podium. It was time to leave. The widow thanked me with a soft and defeated voice before we dispersed. On my way back to the car, I still couldn't get the eyes of Bernard's daughter nor the faltering voice of his wife. Out of my head, would Dina, Monica and Frank look the same way if something happened to me? Would Peter stay sober long enough to give a nice speech? Peter put his hand on my shoulder. That was a good speech. I sensed only respect in his voice. Nod. Come on, it's time to go. We've got work to do. He was right, we had work to do. This was just our lunch hour break. The rain has stopped, the black clouds slowly dispersed, and sunbeams enlightened our surroundings. As someone once said, even the darkest night will end, and the sun will rise. Hope was still on the horizon. So we have Sir Cass's poem book unlocked as a collectible. We have some news. They are afraid of hope, but our songs will be sung, the Hull Sword post leads with. Huge crowds of mourners, including President Rain and other Swordish officials, joined under a rare display of unity, poured into the heart of Dyer today to bid farewell to Bernard Sir Cass, the poet and politician who was shot and killed at the gates of the Maroon Palace after Rain's inauguration ball. President Rain gave a unifying message to all of Sordland by attending the funeral. He paid his respects to Sir Cass and met with his close relatives. Rain also made an emotional speech that touched thousands of attendees. He finished his speech with a quote from Sir Cass. They did not let us sing our songs. They are afraid of the dawn. They are afraid of hope, but our songs will be sung. Fantastic. I got a good write-up. That's the most important thing. President Rain's last farewell to Bernard Sir Cass. Fantastic. We're doing great. We're in all the papers. Brilliant. There was a show of compassion. Show of respect by letting the Red Youth members in to give their goodbye. Thousands of you could have mentioned me specifically in the headline, but okay, the Radical couldn't expect more. Rain was among the thousands. Yeah, but I was the main attendee. I was among thousands, first amongst thousands. This is a positive indicator that gives us hope that the state might finally be giving up on a lynching culture and started to practice self-criticism. No. Never. So we have something in Lackavin. And our economic stability is yeah. That's that's definitely a number. That's something. So there's the last 5 changes and there's the last 10. So in Lackavin, we have a briefing on the current diplomatic situation at the Blue Mansion. The Blue Mansion in Lackavin hosted us for the important diplomacy gathering. The door opened, and David Whiskey, once a lecturer to me, now the Minister of Foreign Affairs, gently made his way towards my desk. I think this is the first time that I've seen him this playthrough. May I sit down, Mr. President? Leave the formalities aside. David, please take a seat. Would we still call him Mr. Whiskey, considering he was our lecturer? No, go on, leave the formalities aside. Sit down, you divil. You see, he's only used to titles. Diplomacy jobs train oneself. He slowly sat down, taking care not to aggravate the arthritis in his knees. He always had an air of gravitas about him, and old age had only served to deepen that. After he settled himself, he regarded me with delight, his blue eyes sparkling. Look at you, Anton, the 4th President of Sordland. What a privilege for me. I still remember the first day you took my class at Holsword State University. Somehow, the inexplicable ebb and flow of life has led us here to positions where we can change the course of history. Everything happens for a reason, David. It was meant to be. This is our opportunity to shape the future, and we will do precisely that. I am looking forward to our new foreign policy. I am excited to present you the latest bill I am working on. The TCPA has turned out to be an initiative that may significantly boost our tourism and culture industry. This untapped value would help us promote our position internationally. I am convinced it can also help improve our economic condition after discussions with Ministers Hull and Menger. The GNA factions are supportive too. I really shouldn't have worked overtime hours to get it done, but I really care for the position and value of our cult. He started coughing again. This time, for longer. Would you like some tea or water? Yeah, we won't pry into his health. Oh yes, please, tea and water sounds nice. Does it? Thank you very much. He smiled. I said tea or water, David. You can't have the both of them. That's not how politics works. Livia brought 2 cups of tea along with a glass of water and placed them on the table. It seems you still remember how much I like tea nowadays. It really does wonders for my throat. So how is your wife, Catherine, doing? Has your niece, Margie, started going to the kindergarten yet? How is your health, David? Let's start talking about foreign policy. How's your health? So I said a couple of seconds ago, we won't pry. We won't start with... He starts coughing. David, are you dying? But now that he kind of brought it up, we'll go into things. Oh, I haven't had any big complications, except the usual. After that heart attack earlier this year, the health complications aren't a hindrance to my work, of course, but thanks for asking. How is the Rain family? We're slowly getting used to the routine. As time passes, I realize it more. Family is the most important thing in life. We must take care of them. The door opened. So Joseph Lancia and Lucien Gilade joined us for the briefing as the tall case clock hit the hour mark. So the Minister for Defence is joining us for a meeting on culture. Peter, however, was missing. I wondered if he was late from all the drinking he did at the wake, or not the wake, but the afters of the funeral afters in Dyer. We'll talk more later, President Rain. Welcome, everyone. How was your travel to Lackavin? Yeah, we'll ask him that. Joseph says a little bumpy, God, everyone's giving out about the transport. I'm working on it. I arrived via a military cargo plane that landed at Lackavin Internet. Well, okay, I'm not doing anything about that. Lucien took the train. It was a little slow, but I can still recommend it for the beautiful landscape. I also had the possibility to work on a couple of things during the ride. David says, from what I've heard, it will be much faster in the near future when the L1 high-speed railway is finished. Exactly. If all goes well, it will be one of our major achievements. Well then, since Mr. Vectrin is blind drunk in an alley somewhere, I think we should start. I will start, says David, by providing a brief overview of our current status with our neighbours. What would you like to start with? Yeah, let's hear about Agnolia. To our north-ish, I believe. Our brotherly nation to the northeast, Agnolia. They are still diplomatically non-aligned and probably has one of the most democratic systems between our neighbours. Economic stagnation is a worry for them. Their primary issue is their heavy reliance on foreign investment from us. Agnolia is our most friendly neighbour. We have been allies for the longest time after Rumburg annexed Dome. This fact needs to be part of the equation. Jesus, they pushed in a good chunk. They took a good chunk of... and they took Merritt Town. Port Grim. Oh, boys. Unsurprisingly, the Agnolian Prime Minister, Martin van Horten, is expecting better cooperation through a new, fairer trade deal with us. It was one of his election mandates. We'll think about his request. The matter is still on the table. A more comprehensive trade deal sounds beneficial to all sides. Both sides could gain from it, but Agnolia has more to win than us. They want to protect their weaker industries, which we are profiting from, selling our goods to. Additionally, the latest numbers indicate that currently 1 million Agno-Sordish citizens live in the England region of Sordland. Yeah, but David, if they can improve their economy, then we won't have to give them as much aid. So this creates a link between foreign policy and our internal affairs. These people have suffered socioeconomically, which led them to crime and other problems. Joseph tells us that in addition, a relaxed immigration policy was one of Agnolia's main requests, which is unacceptable. Most of the migrants in our country haven't even assimilated into Sordish culture. Adding more won't help. I'm skeptical about relaxed immigration. I'm supportive of relaxed immigration. I think if we have more migrants coming to the country, if we can help improve Agnolia's economy, then we shouldn't be in a position where it matters too much. I'm supportive of relaxed immigration. I would rethink the matter seriously because it has great influence on our society and values. We should remember that we promised to keep our immigration laws relaxed in the election campaign. Well, there you go. I want to know more about Valgsland. Our cousins of old across the Marchian Sea wish to have good relations with us. As we all know, Valgsland is a socialist republic aligned with United Contana. They are an important regional player. It's also the most significant sea power in almost all of Mercopa. It is the only country that can rival the superpowers with their navy. We had hostile relations with them after several wars in the 19th century, which we wouldn't want to experience again. Recently, the relationship has warmed up thanks to Emmanuel Hegel. As a result, diplomatic talks can be conducted in the future. There's somebody who looks like both a communist and somebody who would have the Hegel surname. So he's a commissar during the revolution, fighting alongside Wilhelm Ulbricht, the principal architect of the revolutionary movement and a staunch adherent of Malinievism from United Contana. Now, they have a hefty... Oh, Jesus, boys, look at this for a biography. They have a hefty navy. And that could act as a counter to Rumsburg. It's not easy to forget about the Great Fire of Conria. Thousands of lives were lost that day. Breaking the ice with Valgsland could be good if we are to rise diplomatically. We shouldn't take any sides between the regional powers. Yeah, we'll try and break the ice. I agree, they could be potential allies in my opinion. The situation in the region necessitates that we find allies. Joseph is going to give out again. They haven't been in good standing with us for the past 200 years. Recently, they have also joined the Communist Contanan Security Pact, subjugating themselves to United Contana. On top of that, territorial issues have been flaring up between Agnolia and Valgsland because of the Helgeland Island. Ah, why that's all coloured in, I suppose. The Swordish navy is very concerned with this volatile situation. Lucian looked slightly worried. Unfortunately, billions of Swordish Wren worth of cargo is transported close to Valgslandian maritime borders on the Marchian Sea and the Grey Strait. This causes significant risk to our imports and exports in the case of a deterioration in results, or in relations. The strait is of high strategic value to us. We can't expect the worst. No, the strait is of high strategic value. Yosef, the Navy is keeping an eye on the situation from a distance, right? We are actively monitoring the sea routes and cargo ships. For now, there is no immediate threat, but we don't know what can happen in future. What's the latest situation in Wayland? It is tumultuous in the south. As always, Viktor Smolyak is expanding his powers among protests from Wezek people. However, he is quite positive about a normalization of relations between our countries. Despite purging the Wezek communists, reports indicate that they have been warming up to Kantanen international aid. As you know, Wayland's stability was always a concern for the region. But if we want to help them, we must not treat refugees like we did in the 30s. I still can't stomach the inhumanity those people suffered. A trade agreement with them would improve stability and increase mutual trade. Why help such a disorganized state? Sordland paid enough by housing millions of refugees during the Civil War. No more a trade agreement. There would be many bargaining chips discussed, but Wayland could be a new partner in the region. We could also invest in stability there. With what? Our main goal should be to avoid a refugee crisis like the late 20s. The Civil War had major security and economic repercussions on Swordish soil. What's Yosef going to give out about now? One of the demands of President Smolyak was to tighten our immigration laws so the political refugees wouldn't escape to Sordland. There has been a recent purge that pushed many Bludish to flee to Bergia. It is definitely troubling. Gumren Outpost has regained its importance due to this. I'm sure you would remember the winter at the... I remember that winter, you devil. He was right, I did remember that winter. I remembered how cold it was when I let the refugees slip through. I was discharged of my duties as a result by Major Josef Lancia, no less, spending the rest of my service cleaning toilets and sleeping in a cell. In fact, there had been a similar refugee situation in the past. Even Mr. President himself chose to disobey direct orders from his commanding officer at the time. I was young and I made a mistake. Past is the past. Let's move on. And you made me sleep in a prison cell for it. I will never forget that. I did what was right. Soldiers do not decide on what is right. Soldiers do what they are told to do. I'm not a soldier, Yosef. I'm the president. He opened his mouth to continue, but David cut in. Our focus should be on the current matters. The Bludish minority is very large inside Wayland too, which is a factor to consider. It is in our national interest to prevent the formation of a failed state on our western border. Lucian says that Wayland has been increasingly aligning itself towards the Communist Alliance, another point to analyse. Let's move on. Two important neighbouring countries remain, Lesbia and Rumburg. Which would you like to hear about first? What about Lesbia? Our southern neighbour is aligning itself more and more with Arcasia. Lesbia is currently led by Prime Minister Patricio Alvarez. They are the jewel of the continent and the second largest economy in eastern Mercopa. Though wealthy, Lesbia suffers from excessive economic inequality. Our past relations have been great, but during the last decade, their investments to Sordland dwindled due to our instability. Allying with the richest regional nation could be beneficial. Lesbia is a sleeping giant. We should not awaken them. They keep turning a blind eye towards the region, thinking that Lesbia is above it all. I think allying with one of the preeminent powers in the region, never mind we'll say whether or not it's rich, I think it is going to be awakened one way or another, so being on the right side of that alliance is probably what we'd want to go for. It could be, but it would also mean that we would draw closer to the Arcasia bloc and nearer the Arcasian Treaty Organization. I'm certain that the recession has a lot to do with their retraction of investments. Once they see that money isn't in the picture, they vanish rather quickly because they are capitalists. Damn them, the devils. They have shown a selfish attitude during the Wayland Civil War by closing their borders and funneling refugees to cross into Sordland. Lucian cleared his throat. Our values are too different with Lesbia. It will be hard to see eye to eye. Yeah. I completely agree. Lesbia has for a long time benefited from us through our old tariffs. Tariffs? They are after exploitation. There are hundreds of very privileged oligarchs who invest inside and outside of Lesbia. Some made significant business investments in the cities of Benfi and Valgan. What is the situation with Rumburg? Rumburg, Mr. President, are a shower of arseholes. Now to the most troublesome nation, Rumburg, a constitutional monarchy led by Queen Beatrice Livingston. Queen of Rumburg since 21, when she acceded to the throne at 16 after the death of her father. Major political changes. Most notable action was the invasion of Agnolia and the annexation of Dome. Carried out in a single night, Rumburg did not face any major repercussions for the annexation, and the calls for reparations fell flat. It is regarded as one of the largest military and political victories of Rumburg to this day. Selling weapons to both sides of the Wayland Civil War, and has received numerous international criticisms for pursuing expansionist policies and was blamed by Arcasia and United Contana for playing both sides. The devil. I highly advise caution and calculated action against Rumburg. Our military must be prepared. The threat is real. They are strong and have the motivation, as well as the means to damage us. We shouldn't give them any reason to pursue aggression, says David. I will take your advice into consideration. Rumburg is and always will be a rogue-like state. Nothing can be done about them. We must prevent them from interfering in our affairs. Take the advice into consideration. These types of nations will always try to make up a casus belli, a reason to declare war. While Thornborough openly denies such claims, their past and current actions make it clear that they want to destabilize us. The weapons caches found by our intelligence agency clearly show what their goals are. Our military must be steadfast and our diplomacy valiant. Yosef looked stern and full of resolve. The Rumburg threat is one of our top priorities. You can be assured of that. I think the threat is, I don't think we... A kind of a neutral... Would we underestimate... We're planning on neutral stances. I think we are going to have to weigh up the threat. But the threat of kind of over-aggressive action on our behalf, or kind of like action that would give them a reason to do something. I don't know if we'd say that the threat is overblown. We are always in dialogue with our Rumburg ambassador to make sure channel is open to solve disputes. Good. We could use their aggressive attitude against them by convincing the international community. Lucian grabbed the Lakevan Times newspaper and put his finger on an article about the latest diplomatic incident. Their abrupt announcement about the closure of the Rumburg consulate in Lakevan is another step in their escalation. This covers the overview of the current situation. We will move on to our trade choice, and then the response to Rumburg's diplomatic escalation. The sun began to set over the hills surrounding Lakevan. The team was ready to give advice on the new trade initiative and the response to the latest diplomatic incident with Rumburg. Peter arrived late. He looked a little rougher than usual. It must have been the drinking from last night. "Hey there, folks. Excuse my delay. I'm sure I didn't miss anything we didn't already know." Joseph says you were still supposed to be a part of the meeting an hour ago. Punctuality is important. We are talking about serious subjects here. Peter was assigned a task from me. That is why he is late. Let's move on. They have a point, Peter. You should have discipline in the cabinet. Yeah, Peter. Stop being a drunk. At least if you're going to be a drunk at the table. Excuse me, it won't happen again. I don't believe you, Peter. Lucien and Joseph looked at Peter before David moved away from the subject. The Vice President will be part of the trade delegation, so it will be great to have his input on that subject as well as on the Rumburg incident. Rumburg Consul, Sir Bran Harrington, announced the closure of the 120-year-old consulate. Now their diplomatic staff is leaving the city to go back to Thornborough. He blamed the lack of security in Sordland due to the assassination and the subsequent protests, but it is obvious that they are making excuses. Bastards! First they close their consulate and then they blame our security. The security situation is under control. They are playing with us. Their concerns could be genuine, but this reaction is unnecessary. Because, I mean, there's guns everywhere. Somebody keeps hiding weapons caches all around the place. I wonder who that could be. Agreed. Other diplomatic missions have worked with our security units to increase the protection of staff and buildings. David says that the neglect of President Alfonso and the chaos of the elections delayed our diplomatic efforts. Now there are only 2 Rumburg diplomatic missions left in Sordland. One is the consulate in Dyer and the other is the embassy in Hallsword. We are accustomed to the unusual rhetoric, but this is far more serious. I must display strength to my people. We can't be pushed around. They are bluffing. We are used to it by now. They are bluffing. I don't think we'll go with the middle one. We're accustomed to the usual rhetoric, but this is far more serious. I mean, if that gives me an option to make kind of a balanced response, we'll take that one. They are playing with fire. Look at what the Wayland destabilization has done for the region. Sordland breaking apart would tear Mercopa apart. In my entire career, I have never seen our Rumburg relations suffer this much. The previous low point was the annexation of Dome. Joseph Lancia was furious. He barely kept himself from slamming the desk. There are worrying developments, like the smuggled arms and the build-up near the border. Our military must be buffed up to stand against a great power like Rumburg. Well, we need alliances. We either respond to this aggressive act with a diplomatic condemnation, or we retaliate by closing our consulate in Dome. I want to say that an escalation would be risky this early in our presidency. We should focus on creating a negative image of Rumburg in the international scene. The people of Sordland must be protected, no matter the cost. I say we respond equally. Write an official diplomatic response condemning this unreasonable act. Declare that Rumburg aims to destabilize Sordland and the region. As you wish, Mr. President. I shall begin work by immediately informing the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Swaying the international stage is the key in long-term strategy. Joseph says, I wish we had reacted more strongly. If we don't confront them, they will keep escalating the situation. No, the international community will protect us, Joseph. It's fine. Peter's happy we're taking the cautious road. There are 3 trade-related topics to address today. Which topic should we tackle first? So we should talk about the ongoing trade negotiations with our neighbours Wayland and Ignolia. or I'm interested to hear the intentions of the kingdom of Rizia. Let's go with that one. Former President Alfonso signed trade agreements with King Romus Taurus of Rizia. The previous government revived the older relationship that existed during the days of the Sordish monarchy. In 1918, King Egmund signed a trade deal with Queen Liza the Great to save the kingdom from economic collapse with the support of his key advisors. Some Rizians who settled for the deal in the final years of the kingdom still live in the old town of Halsord to this day. The main negotiator was my father, former president Arthur S. Whiskey, who, with the Republican faction of the King's Parliament, fought to achieve a rare consensus in the heavily fractured council at the time. Mot he vest pesa. David hesitated for a brief moment. The kingdom was meant to collapse. Nothing could save it regardless of the effort. Your father was truly a great man. May he rest in peace. In the Tarquain Soll period, we never saw much dependency on foreign nations. Your father was a great man. Thank you, Anton. I hope our nation never faces the tragedies of those dark days again. He was the best father one could have wanted. He deserved a more honourable end, says Peter. The room went silent for a moment. Let's continue our discussions about Rizia. Lucian says that looking back a few years, they played a significant role in helping Sordland avoid depression. There is merit to this fact. Yes, the Rizian gold invested in Sordland in exchange for different degrees of ownership of state assets strengthened the currency by boosting the central bank reserves and averted a full depression after the 51 recession. Edith Agnock's handling of the central bank measures to prevent the depression also deserves credit. Fair play to Edith. This new engagement regarding the Rizian investment interest is coordinated through our Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Gus Manger, and former President Alfonso. King Romus is interested in increasing energy independence and diversifying his energy assets. Our sources indicate that he wants to acquire control of more natural gas resources. I'm cynical about monarchies. Their time in Mercopa seems to be running out, and their stability is in question. We are still facing the potential of a recession. New avenues of trade could help keep the books balanced. Isn't this unusual? Aren't you and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in charge of arranging negotiations? I'm going to say that one. Usually, yes, but in special scenarios, such as this, real and close connections between people can improve the likelihood of a positive outcome. Since Mr. Magner has the strongest relations with the envoy, we have assigned staff to him to help with the talks. Classic wild Gus. Even before we started campaigning, he was in the game non-stop. Gus, connecting people. It wouldn't be bad to focus on the important job of keeping our farmers and rural population happy, good man Lucian. Looking after the people that really matter. But as long as we are getting a good offer, it doesn't matter who officially leads the negotiations. I'm sure Mr. Whiskey doesn't mind. Alfonso's Minister of Foreign Affairs, Keris, coordinated the trade agreement, the previous trade agreement, but is no longer working at the ministry. We have no close contacts with the Taurus royals anymore. It leaves us little option but to use the back channel of Mr. Manger and President Alfonso. Former President Alfonso. David, you will respect my authority. Well, we can continue official dialogue after this. It might lead to a more substantial agreement. Of course, we are pushing to establish a stronger relationship, but in the short term, this method is the one that could yield results. Let's discuss the deal potential and what's on the table. From what we've gathered, there's no clear offer yet. The interest clearly seems to be more control over the gas produced and sold in Sordland. I suspect this must be related to the recent tensions on the coast of Pales. So the Grand Duchy of Pales, in the southeast of Mercopa, the only country it borders is the Kingdom of Rizia. The country's capital is the port of Pales. and it is governed by the monarch, Duke Axel Reinhardt. So, big heap of madness. So they're a fairly small place down at the bottom. A member of the Organization for Mercopen Economic Development. Has one of the highest GDPs per capita. Fair play. Mr. Manger is working out the details to get more concrete headline terms soon. Our national interests are the gas fields in the Narble and the Nargis region. Or the Narble area of the Nargis region. That must be related to Gazam operations. Gus has ties with the people around that corporation, even though there is another CEO, Ewald Alfonso, is still chairman. Gazam is a private corporation, a fact that limits our control over any foreign investment. Tarquain Soll's Energy Protection Act of 1932 specifically limits the purchase of Sordish Energy Company shares by foreign nations to 10%. Ewald Alfonso adjusted the law in 48 and increased it up to 20%. Anything above that requires us to change the Energy Protection Act. Ewald holds most of Gazam's cards in his hands still. The way we publicly embarrassed him on national television won't help further dialogue. I see a strong case for Tarquain Soll's regulation. Energy security is important for our nation. Absolutely. Peter says that we don't want to find ourselves in the energy crisis situation of the early 1930s, where nations like Rumburg and Lesbia leached off our weakened position and charged us triple the cost per cubic ton. They smelled weakness, and thanks to initiatives of the Soll government and the technocrats, the nation survived those hardships. Joseph is still here, I forgot about that. No matter how much people criticise Soll these days, the Colonel is the reason why Sordland can stand mostly independent in this age. The energy topic is gaining importance again with the tensions in the Antician Sea. I'm keeping a close watch on the situation. Lucian pulled out a pen and took a few notes. David coughed, and then continued talking. Good man, David. From our diplomatic channels, we can tell that Lesbia is very interested in Sordish petrol, whereas Rumburg wants more gas resources. Rumburg? As a sovereign nation, we must protect our resources. Our energy independence is part of our national security concern here. Gazam handles most of our gas production. Keeping close control over critical resources is in sync with our planned economy strategy. That's what we're going with. I'm very glad you have chosen a Sordland-centric path, Mr. President. In theory, centralization works, but it leaves little room for outside help when internal conditions are dire. If Rizia wants to buy more than 20% of shares allowed by the protectionism laws, then the government can step in to make changes to the EPA. Precisely, says Lucian, but we don't know if this will be the case. There is a scenario in which they might invest within the EPA limitations. We just have to hear more before weighing the options. They never revealed much about their involvement to me, but then again, I was blind drunk. Lucian says that he has information that the CEO that replaced Alfonso is a loyalist. Alfonso still is the chairman of Gazam and the de facto key figure. Additionally, National Business Council chairman Mikhail Avon and Minister Gus Manger have shares in the company and preside over the board. The power structure behind the scenes shouldn't matter much to us. Affluent swords don't stray far from each other. The shareholder links raise questions regarding Alfonso and Manger's motive. Most certainly, they raise questions about their motivations. I suspect that the corporation isn't doing too well, and they are seeking investments. Any investment into Gazam will enrich the owners, but might also lead to more jobs and growth. Any further comments, esteemed cabinet members? The room went silent, and no one stepped forward. It was noticeable how much people respected whiskey. Everyone respects whiskey. He carried the soul of Sordland as a symbol of the past. I respect whiskey greatly. I think this summarizes all we know and what we stand to gain. Mr. President, what are your thoughts? I look favourably towards a potential investment from Rizia into Sordland. We will have to wait and hear more from Mr. Manger to decide. Absolutely, yeah. If there's one thing Gus is good at, it's making deals. I'm curious how it will develop. It's mostly out of the hands of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for now. I will assist in analysing the political implications, Mr. Whiskey. Thank you. Our support staff and I will be working towards the next steps soon after receiving more context from Mr. Manger. Our ambassadors in Puerto Drazon is in communication with Lorento Esquivel, the Rizian Councillor of Foreign Affairs, already. I don't need any more information about Rizia. Of course, Mr. President. So we have Agnolia and Wayland. We'll go for Agnolia. First off, the reason behind the option is more diplomatic than economic, although, of course, we can't forgo the added economic value. Agnolia is an old ally and a valuable trade partner. The point we are at with the early negotiations is around the steel trade. They are demanding that we buy their steel for a higher price. That is because they think that the deal is far too unbalanced as it is. Their second main demand is a privileged access to our agriculture market. If we are to fulfill their demands in return, they are offering a full alliance with Sordland against Rumburg, the guys who lost a war against Rumburg already, is it? They should be offering a full alliance anyway. Looking at the current advances of Rumburg near our borders, having a coalition against Rumburg would prove extremely useful. Obviously, there will be consequences for entering a full alliance. Mainly, the issue is around Helgeland. Valgsland has clear intentions on taking over the island one way or another, and entering a military alliance with Agnolia will make them furious. I want to state my support for the decision to stick to our old ally, Agnolia. Even though I disagree with their demand to relax immigration, we have cooperated with them on many issues in the past, says Joseph. There are obviously subjects that we would still need to tackle, like our economies, the traded goods, and what to do with immigration, says Peter. David Whiskey's opinion is that this is a good deal and we should go for it. The new Agnolian Prime Minister is trying to improve the existing relationship. The downside is that we would need to make concessions, a reality of any trade deal. I would be open to creating a new agreement that would satisfy all sides. Considering the cabinet seems to be in support of it, I would be open to creating a new agreement. That would be the best outcome. If you decide that Agnolia is a good option, another point is that they have a very democratic system. After the recent elections, the Prime Minister has a mandate to arrange a fairer deal with us. Martien van Horten also is an avid supporter of relaxed immigration. Since we said we will keep immigration relaxed, it will help us. Regardless, if we are going to increase our regional influence to previous levels, we might need to make amends with our neighbours. Ultimately, the decision will be up to you, as always. Too right it will, Lucian, don't you forget that. The deal with Wayland, I don't think there's possibly anything that we could get from here. We'd probably be more the commanding partner in a deal with Wayland. But I don't think it would be as much of a bulwark, a defensive bulwark, against Rumburg. Now, of course, there is this island that's causing trouble. So, lucrative in the short term to deal with Wayland. Risks associated with dealing with such a country. They are proposing co-investment projects and a no-tariff agreement. They are also offering oil in return for attracting foreign capital interests. However, it is possible that there will be international ramifications. All in all, this is a very lucrative deal for us. However, we need to think about the consequences. I certainly don't support the decision to become friendlier with Wayland. We carry their burdens for decades. Their migrants flooded our country, and now they're expecting a deal from us. Peter says that maintaining influence with Wayland could prove useful. Yes, it's risky, but think about our influence on an underdeveloped nation like that. We could also sell more products and enter their market easily. David thinks it's too risky. Yeah, too risky. Lucian agrees. If we wish to go forward with the deal, when the time comes, there is the topic of immigration to consider. Victor Smolak is a known isolationist. Our promise to keep our immigration policy relaxed will not help at all. He blames us for bringing Western interests to the region. He can go to hell. And regardless, Lucian does not like the idea of getting too close to Wayland. Me too, says David Whiskey. Agreed, says Josef Lancia. I still think we should try it. Peter, you're drunk. Shut up. Since we did not promise to align with neither East nor West, it is very likely that their concerns would be more around the deal itself. Our neutrality strategy might ease the tensions with Rumburg, since their primary concern is the strengthening of the superpower blocks. The last handful of monarchies in Mercopa are reactive against the influence of Arcassian capitalism and Malignevism. We also need to consider the effects of our economic doctrine plan. The fact that we are headed towards a planned economy will have an influence. Good negotiators optimize the interests which make the difference become trivial, allowing both sides to reach a deal. Very true, Mr. Vectron. We have a lot of time to prepare before the scheduled visits to Wayland and Ignolia. I believe this gives a brief overview of our current options. Our trade delegation will begin work towards the end of the year. We expect final negotiations and the signing of the trade agreements to happen next year. Next year is going to be a big year. Trade agreements, a train track. That's it. I'm very much looking forward to visiting Stahlport and that place with party animals like David and Simon. Ha ha! Peter laughed. Joseph narrowed his eyes and stared at him. Well, that concludes our meeting, Mr. Rain. I have a party to go to. See you later, gentlemen. I will take my leave then, sir. The meeting concluded and the team disappeared. Our diplomatic action plan officially began. And with that, we have a big heap of news. We have several issues to deal with. We have the diplomatic mission to Alderaan. We have a diplomatic mission to Wayland. We have to go to the other table a different way. We have a huge amount of reports, a briefing on the results of the Reform Committee. We have a report into the Grand National Assembly's Green Bill in Hullsword. We have something up in Estord. We have a couple of reports up there. But I think for this episode, we will leave it there. I don't imagine there's any changes. I'm not entirely too sure when one day ends and another begins. We have a ton of news to get to. We have a ton of reports and we have a ton of updates. That's just a report, but we have a hectic, a busy amount of things to do in the capital. So I am going to get to those in the next episode. Like I said at the start of this one, somebody asked if the only thing you do in this game is attend meetings. Well, now I can tell them no. You also attend funerals. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you are a party animal, please think about signing up to the civil service. We have positions, we have vacancies in the Department of Foreign Affairs, and we might just send you with Peter to negotiate some trade deals.